specialise in data visualisation. We do a lot of innovative work with Microsoft technologies, and that's brought us here to TechEd, where we've been showing off TransHub, a new Windows Phone application.
Yep.
We gave a wonderful session yesterday on the new Connect SDK.
Cool. So let's talk about that spotlight session with the Windows Phone applications. You were competing against a couple others, one I interviewed yesterday, and I believe congratulations is in order. You did pretty well in that last night.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Very proud to win. It's been a lot of hard work, some very long days, and a team of about 7 of us, not full time, but working on different parts of the application over the last couple of months.
Sure. And so the background of that, for the people who don't know about the Spotlight competition, was using government data in interesting ways. And so maybe you can give an overview of what TransHub is and how that works.
Yeah, so the program, the Spotlight program, is run every year. And this year was focused on getting a government data set and creating a really good application for the Windows Phone. So we looked at what government data sets were available. We also looked at what people really want on their phone, what makes a really good phone app that you want in your pocket. And the no-brainer for us was public transport.
Location services,
Location services. And we just found that there was a huge gap that exists probably actually on all mobile platforms, but especially on Windows Phone. A really good application that's designed for that mobile use, for just, I want to be able to get from here to this other location in Sydney, find me the best route using buses, trains and ferries.
Yeah, so I guess my initial question would be, how does that differ from your typical going to Bing Maps and searching and you're getting directions that way? How does TransHub differ from that?
So the platform itself, so the idea of delivering it on your mobile device, suddenly means that we do things like have favourites. So you've got a set of favourite locations.
Right, so from home to work and to the gym and whatever else.
So typically one of those is actually going to be your current location. And the mobile phone with a built-in GPS gives us that location. So in a couple of clicks and like a personalised app experience, you can say, I just need to go home, actually don't know where I am. A couple of clicks home from my current location, and it can tell you, show you, you're going to walk maybe a couple of hundred metres and you get on this bus you've never been on before. And it gives you a nice visualisation of how many bus stops do you need to get off.
So if the path for somebody to go from one location to another, like from work to home, was you have to take a bus from here to here, then get off, take a train from here to here, and it handles all that, it will give you...
Yes, it does that. Yeah,
basically just follow step by step.
Multiple buses and actually the combination as well. So you might get, in Sydney, you might get the bus down to Circular Quay and then get the ferry across to Cronulla.
Sure. And so if we talk about the area, it's New South Wales predominantly that it's covering right now?
Yeah, so for the competition, which had very tight time frames, we decided to focus on Sydney. For a number of reasons. One, obviously, it's got a major population in Australia.
And I'm sure the government data set was available for that. And
the government data set was available for Sydney. There's actually a really good data set available for Perth, Adelaide, actually Townsville and Cairns as well. But Sydney was our choice because a lot of people are familiar with Sydney. This was a national competition. We're up here on the Gold Coast. So people are still familiar with things like the Opera House and Circular Quay. But also it's got some really good modes of transport. You can show ferries and trains and buses, which you can't necessarily show off in some of the other cities.
Gotcha. And so you spoke a little bit about the other areas that do have public data sets available. Are you planning on developing, expanding TransHub to those areas?
Absolutely. There's 3 things that we're looking at trying to expand on. So one is to go into the different cities, and it makes sense to go to the ones we've got the data for, but we're also really keen to be utilising some of Microsoft's resources from this program to lobby the governments of those other cities. So they would be Melbourne and Brisbane, where we're from, to actually get some of this data available.
And hey, look, I'm from Albury-Wodonga, so if you can do regional cities as well, that would be fantastic.
The other things we're really interested in is moving on to kind of the next generation, which is this live telemetry data.
Right, so incidents, traffic flows, congestion, all that sort of thing.
There's a big movement, especially internationally, of being able to publish the actual GPS location of all those assets, so actually know exactly where that train is.
Right, okay. So then you're getting time, it's not just a sign that says, every 10 minutes, it's, you walk up to the stop and it says 7 minutes until the next one.
And as you said, that means that when there is a small delay, that we can give you an alternative route to take and we can give you really informed information.
Interesting. So what do you think was that put you over the line and got you to win the spotlight?
look, I think we asked the audience like, who uses public transport, and I didn't see anybody not put up
Sure.
their hand. So it is really, although as Australians we all use cars, the reality is the commute to work, still a lot of us go and use a train or a bus or a ferry in Sydney.
Yeah, right.
For all sorts of reasons, environmental reasons, as well as financial reasons in terms of cost of parking in the CBD.
Yeah.
So there was just a huge demand from consumers that they want this information. And I think they loved the fact that we had worked really hard to make the app fit well with the phone. So really nice metro design.
Sure.
It looks like a really nice integrated app for Windows Phone.
Yep. What about other platforms? Are you considering porting or moving TransHub to iOS, Android?
So we would love to be able to get TransHub available to a larger user base, and look, that might be HTML5 type application,
Sure.
It's more broad,
Yep.
and certainly there's a lot of users on an iDevice that we would love to market to. The reason that we started with Windows Phone 7 is because of our background. So we do a lot of data visualization with Microsoft technology,
Yep.
and we have a large expertise in Silverlight development.
Sure. Yeah, and you're able to use the phone. Yeah.
So for us, we literally turned from the prototypes. We spent a lot of time prototyping and working out the UI and the UX design.
Yep.
And in terms of saying this is what we're going to do to creating the product, that was 3.5 weeks.
Okay. That's pretty impressive.
So it was a lot of long hours,
Yeah,
and
no doubt.
that was very much tied in with the program deadlines.
Yep.
So that's why we had to focus on our innovative feature, which is this journey planning,
Yep.
and also just focus on Sydney at this stage. But we've had an enormous amount of people say, when's Perth coming?
Sure.
How can we get in Melbourne?
Have you, thinking of transport, have you thought about integrating something like a taxi service into TransHub as well?
So we've launched a feedback site. So we're using user voice. So
Okay,
it's
yeah.
feedback.transhub.com, where people have been able to suggest ideas, and it's just gone off. I mean,
Sure.
in the first day, it was 25 really, really good ideas. So we're just trying to work out what are the best ideas. People could vote, and we'll be looking at trying to work on that priority basis. But there's a lot of cases where you just missed the last train.
Yeah.
And it makes sense as a transport hub application, TransHub.
You have
that
all
we'll
the
be able to
alternatives.
provide you with some alternatives. So that's taxi. Someone suggested it'd be nice to know where the hire bicycle schemes are in the different cities.
Yep.
Be a nice integration.
Awesome. And then flights potentially as well.
Yeah, look, there are some fantastic apps that already do the flight information. So
Sure.
if there's a way for us to be able to integrate that.
Something like TripIt,
Yeah, TripIt is a fantastic app that we use. There's no way. But what we'd love to do is be able to integrate that experience.
Sure.
Imagine end to end. I need to go from maybe it's Brisbane to Melbourne,
Yep.
but even internationally. Imagine you need to fly from Sydney through to Seattle.
And it could be 4 or 5 different modes of transport you need to take to get there.
Yeah, and maybe we can move beyond the traditional, let's just get a cab to the airport. You may find that actually it's more convenient, it might be faster and cheaper to jump on the train service, more reliable potentially as well. And that's at both ends.
Yeah.
So the idea is that personal experience and just try to take away the difficulty. You don't go and find that website and work out how to fill it in. You just have this personalised app, search using a pretty traditional map interface, type in the locations and it plots out all the journey leads for you.
Cool. You mentioned earlier about having GPS nodes on every mode of transport on the ferries and buses and trams and stuff. How are we going with that? Is it very few test areas or trials at the moment, or is it starting to, I guess, become a reality?
So the vehicles themselves are fitted with this equipment.
Yeah.
Obviously, some aren't, but the majority actually are. So internally, the transportation systems monitor where the buses are and where the trains are, and that's what you see updated on those screens.
Gotcha. Yeah. And so it's really just a matter of them exposing that information, you tapping into that.
Yeah, it's a matter of exposing it. There's obviously a few issues that need to be resolved. And what we're trying to say is that if you can make that data a good enough quality and available, then developers will be able to create really innovative apps for you. So the government can put out these streams, they don't necessarily have to put out the streams for thousands of users to connect to.
Yep.
If we can connect using our Azure service to their single stream, then we can broadcast it out to our user base.
Right. So is there a business model behind TransHub?
So
a free app? And
at this stage it's a paid app.
Okay.
So it's going to be launched for $4.49
Okay. Yep.
On the marketplace. That's Australian.
Yep.
And the idea is that we're trying to focus on giving a really premium experience.
Sure.
So making sure that if timetable information changes, that's updated on our server very quickly, and you always get that latest data. The last thing we want is to have an out-of-date timetable on your phone.
Yep. Oh, to be honest, that gives me confidence in the product that, you know, a few dollars up front, I think for the end consumers is not a big thing when you know a service is going to be around for a while. It's the free, no business model behind it kind of apps that you're concerned about. You get hooked on it, you really love it and you use it, but it goes away because they can't afford to run it anymore. So I don't think that's so much of a problem. That a few dollars for something that potentially you're using every day is saving you a heap of time. And certainly in a commercial application, if you've got a number of people who need to get to a route in the most efficient way, and you guys can solve that problem, then that's money well spent.
Yeah, and for us, that money kind of gets broken up. It's paying for those servers up in the cloud that's doing the processing,
Sure.
And it's allowing us to innovate on new features so you can get updates on a regular basis and start getting this tax integration or bicycle integration.
Nice.
Features.
Let's talk about the Connect SDK. You've been working with some people who have taken that SDK for Windows and been playing around with it. So if you have some examples of what people have been doing with it?
Yeah, we're super excited, and it's just so much enthusiasm. So Microsoft Research launched the official beta SDK. It's non-commercial, so it's for prototyping and research. But the developer community, as we know from the previous, as soon as the Connect was launched, there was all sorts of open source projects.
Right.
Now that we've got this official SDK, it just cuts out a lot of that confusion about which drivers do I need to install, which toolkits,
and there were some limitations from those hacks as well. You know, you had to do certain commands for it to activate and recognise the skeleton and stuff. Whereas, after the SDK was released, and you can use the normal, a lot of the normal functionality that you can get in games. So
and it's the developers are loving it, and just the simplicity of the SDK just makes it brilliant. So we gave a session at Tech in New Zealand, an introductory session, and we just gave it yesterday here in Australia, and. The Twitter stream coming off was people. I think it was one gentleman that went and bought one on eBay during the session. He was that enthused to go and create something.
Nice.
Because it's literally C# code these developers are familiar with, and a few lines of code you can get this. The most amazing parts of this Connect and the depth sensor, the audio, speech recognition.
Yep.
And I think the .NET developers here just got it. They just went for a couple $100. And they have this awesome bit of kit that I can do things that we were sort of dreaming about and watching movies a few years ago.
Absolutely. Yeah, look, I look forward to commercial availability for some of that stuff, because it's great that developers can get in there and have a play and develop their skills. But really, I want to see applications that are a marketplace for. There's Connect Labs, obviously, on the Xboxes. Some of them are starting to filter through to there. But really, if you had a marketplace for these indie developers, that'd be fantastic to see what they're coming up with. And if it ends up being a couple of bucks for a Connect application, then I think that's a big win.
No, it'd be really
people are enthused about that.
Yeah, so that's on the consumer side, and there's obviously a lot of businesses that are really interested in this technology, whether it be for a meeting room type presentation, or whether it's something more practical like a health and safety, where potentially they're using the Connect to monitor people's posture while lifting heavy loads.
Just simulations and.
So there's been some amazing examples out there in this prototyping stage, and I think once we see that this commercial availability, people are going to be able to invest a whole bunch of extra time and resources, and it's just been the start of something pretty amazing.
Awesome. Very good. Thanks very much for your time, John. We'll leave it there.
That's great. Thank you.
Appreciate it.